Hey team, and welcome back to the channel. Finally back to making videos, and this one's going to be a good one because it's a double feature. In this video I'm going to be exclusively talking about the new asymmetrical balls in the Brunswick lineup, and in the other video I'm going to be talking about the Expo releases that are symmetrical that Brunswick brought to the summer, and of course are still available now in the current product lineup to be excellent complements to the two asymmetrical balls that I'm going to be talking about here. And we're going to start with the very exciting Defender Hybrid. Of course, this one has the original Portal X core that was found in the original Defender that has a 2473 2473 RG min, which is on the very low side. That's going to be a fast revving core. 054 total differential for plenty of flare potential, and a moderate 15 intermediate differential for a pro performance core. That 15 intermediate differential is going to give you a little more pop at the back of the lane, but better change of direction in the late mid lane than say a symmetrical ball would. But 15 being not particularly high means that it's going to be a nice balance between giving you that extra late mid lane shape without being too hockey stick or too hook set like some of those really high intermediate diff numbers can get. This worked really well in the original Defender, where despite being a solid, changed direction really well at the back of the lane. If you guys have one, you already know, and if you've seen the ball motion videos, you know that that one is pretty responsive for a solid, and that's only enhanced by this hybrid cover stock. We'll get to that in a second, but first I have to mention that this one has dot and Dynamicore for unlimited drilling options without voiding the warranty, and the Dynamicore, of course, is giving you harder hitting power, which means that this ball is going to go through the pins just a little better with a little higher carry percentage than our original outer core material did. And now the thing that everyone's talking about is the brand new cover stock on this ball. The verbiage is just a little confusing, so let me walk you through it. It's actually pretty simple. HK22, that's hyperkinetic 22, and that is the new cover stock base. That is the actual resin that the material is, the effective chemistry is built off of, the base for the chemistry. And that is clearer. You can see in this little video here that has a higher purity so that when you mix it, it doesn't foam, it doesn't give you any tinting, it doesn't give you any milking, and that means it's gonna have better colors, but it also, because the purity is higher, it sticks to the back of the lane just a little bit better. It's giving us better change of direction and better response to friction. Simple as that. Now, it's still ACT 3.0, this time in the hybrid version. Of course, the ACT base cover stock was on the original Defender in the solid form. This has the exact same additive package, and thankfully the new kinetic, the HK22 material, is very accepting to various additive packages that we've been experimenting with. So you may see this base formula in a number of the other cover stocks across the Brunswick family. What you'll know is that it's going to be a little more responsive than any of the current cover bases in our lineup, including this one. So even though this one's a hybrid, it gives us good natural push through the front of the lane and a really good late mid lane response. Speaking of new technology, we're going to roll over now and take a look at the brand new Quantum Evo Hybrid. Just like the Quantum Evos before it, this one has a brand new core in it. It is the QCS18. QCS standing for Quantum Core System, and 18 for 18 points of intermediate diff that this undrilled core has. Now, of course, the Pearl had 24 points of intermediate diff to pair with the sharper cover stock for the sharpest change of direction, and the Solid had 12 points of intermediate diff built into it, and that is a slightly more symmetrical shape for a smoother overall front-to-back motion. And as you would expect, we slotted the hybrid right in between with 18 points of intermediate differential. At 251, the RG on this core is pretty moderate, and with an 052 total differential, this one's not going to be at the super high end of flare potential, but it is still going to be in that high range. It's going to tackle a wide variety of medium to heavy oil conditions based on the fact that this core revs up a little later and flares just a little less overall than Defender in terms of core's contribution to motion, which of course is just one component of the system. And also on this ball, in this core, we have the Dynamicore 2.0. That's the purple stuff that you see when you drill into the outer. This is currently exclusive to the Quantum Evo series. It's a slightly enhanced version of our Dynamicore blue version, and this is just getting us closer and closer to a two-piece level of hitting power with the interfaces being more well bonded to the inner core and to the cover stock, meaning that there's less compression and thus less deflection when it goes through the pins. That's going to result in a little more carry percentage. And people want to know, why don't you just put Dynamicore 2 in all of the balls? Well, performance comes at a price, and the Evo series has always been a premier product, so it gets the premier cover stock outer cover material first. That would be the compound material. I don't know why I said cover stock. But that's a perfect segue, I guess. Speaking of cover stock, this one has the Evolution Hybrid. Not the new cover stock base in this one, but Evolution on the Evos has been a really strong performer. It is a overall more tractiony, more diggy cover stock in my opinion than some of the other covers in the current Brunswick lineup. It's going to give you a really nice blending front to back motion paired with this round shape that the Quantum Core is known for. It's definitely a predictable, strong performer. Taking a quick look now at our Brunswick Performance Index chart, you'll notice that Defender Hybrid is the highest ball in the flip category. It falls in the Pro Performance category with a flip rating of 87. The Quantum Evo Hybrid has a traction rating of 90 and falls just under the Quantum Evo Solid in terms of traction. Moving over now to my comparison chart, you'll see a brand new look. This is just a little neater, tidier, and a little larger so that you guys can use it better. This sorted the exact same way, I've just spaced the equipment out a little differently. These balls are sorted on the x-axis by oil volume, with lightest on the left to heaviest on the right, and by response to friction, with the sharpest responding balls toward the top of the chart and the smoothest responding balls toward the bottom of the chart. You'll notice that Defender Hybrid is highlighted in yellow, being the newest ball on the chart, but of course we're going to talk about the Quantum Evo Hybrid as well. Interesting that we have two hybrid ASIMs in back-to-back releases, but they are categorically very different, as you can see by this chart. We'll start talking about the new Defender Hybrid first. It's built to handle a medium amount of total oil volume, and it is the sharpest ball currently on the chart. I would argue that it might be one of the sharpest balls that Brunswick has come out with, at least in this oil volume category, and that of course is due mostly to the new cover stock base, which is going to give you cleaner motion, less response up front, and a sharper response when it encounters friction. And compared to, say, a like drilled Zenith Pearl, which is no longer on the chart, even though that ball being Pearl, I still think that it has just a little more shape at the back of the lane than that ball did. Compared to a Quantum Evo Pearl, which is categorically similar, the Quantum Evo has a higher intermediate differential, but it has a smoother, earlier, diggier cover stock base, despite the fact that they're both Pearl asymmetrical balls. So the combination of higher intermediate diff and traction and cover is going to make this one see the late mid lane a little harder and blend out the friction with a slightly rounder shape at the back of the lane, making the Quantum Evo Pearl a little more suited for a little higher volume. But when there's a little more friction in the mid lane, or if you just bowl on more friction in general where there's free hook to the outside of the lane, the Defender Hybrid is second to none. This ball is going to get through the fronts very easily. You're not going to have to force it through the fronts, and you're not going to see it want to dig early or hook set like some asymmetrical balls tend to do. You're going to see it glide better than probably any of our previous products in this performance category, but when it sees friction, it doesn't skip it either. That's one thing that manufacturers battle with the skid flip equipment is how do you balance the right blend of late mid lane response and back end motion. You want them clean enough that they don't see it too early and hook set, but you want to make sure that they read so that the high ball speed players or the lower rev rate players can still utilize a really great back-ending product without feeling like they have to be bowling on burn to do so. And the Defender Hybrid kind of checks all those boxes. Moving over now to talk briefly about the Quantum Evo Hybrid, you'll notice that it does nest neatly between the Quantum Evo Solid and the Quantum Evo Pearl in terms of motion, but because of the sanded cover stock, it's gonna nest a little closer to the Quantum Evo Solid in terms of ball motion. It's definitely got that even blendy shape. Those quantum cores with the mushroom shape tend to have always had that nice even rounded arcing motion, but of course in these Evos with the new cover stock technology and the strength of the overall intermediate differential that the previous Quantums didn't necessarily have, these balls really come to life and they give you more shape overall than the Quantums of years past have. And don't let the smooth characteristic motion of the Evo Hybrid deter you, because smooth doesn't necessarily mean weak or slow. It just means that it's a gradual front to back motion. The ball is using its energy at a more constant rate throughout the lane, giving you a sweeping, consistent motion, very predictable and very usable. And because of that, I think you'll find the Evo Hybrid usable on a very wide variety of patterns, from medium fresh oil conditions to even the heaviest of conditions for some of the highest rev players. And even if you aren't a super high rev player, you'll find plenty of utility for this Quantum Evo Hybrid on heavy oil conditions after maybe just a little bit of transition. Or if you're able to stay a little more square early, then you should have no problem chasing it left with this ball. The predictability of this Quantum Evo Hybrid gives you the ability to stay with it for a long time in the block. And hey, when that one gets too early or is just a little too smooth, if you're using deeper launch angles, then the Defender Hybrid will pick up right where that Quantum Evo Hybrid left off. So in terms of hybrids, despite the fact that these two are very different in very different locations on the hook chart, I don't think a pair of hybrids could complement each other much better. And of course, when the Defender Hybrid is too sharp or just too much off the end of the pattern, or if your Quantum Evo is too early, then you're going to gravitate toward your symmetrical balls, like your jab carbons and your attitudes. And hey, if you haven't seen my video on the symmetrical releases, now's a great time to go check that out, where I'll talk about those balls on the same chart. Brunswick is proving that they are not messing around when it comes to bringing new technology to the table. These two new releases are probably two of the most technologically advanced bowling balls on the market now, if not ever, and they're available at your local pro shop. Make sure you swing in and pick them up. The Defender Hybrid is available starting October 21st, and the Quantum Evo Hybrid is available right now. While you're here, make sure you check out my video that is detailing all of the info on the symmetrical side of the current Brunswick lineup, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook pages, Bowling Buckosh. I do my best to make update videos as often as I can when new products from the brands of Brunswick get released.